Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our last event of the semester. This is Local Nature Winter Writing Walk, led by Lakin Khan, and I am Carrie Winninger, the Outreach Lead for the Center for Environmental Inquiry at Sonoma State University. So these public events are usually held on site at one of our preserves, but this semester and last semester, and even next semester, we're doing things a little bit differently, connecting virtually, and really trying to harness some of the power that can bring, not just focus on the things that we can't do. And I'm really happy to see all of you joining us today. So thank you from wherever you're coming from. So with that in mind, if you wouldn't mind taking a minute and typing your full name into the chat box, that's how we have our sign-in sheet today. If you need help finding where that is, let me know, but most people understand Zoom at this point. So before I let Lakin take it away, I just want to tell you a little about what the Center for Environmental Inquiry is and how we can be a resource to you, no matter who you are, whether you're affiliated with SSU or not. So the center envisions a North Bay that is all working together to find environmental solutions. And we invite you to come get environmentally ready with us. So we're doing that by building a community of learners and problem solvers. And we're doing this across all sectors of society, not just those you might traditionally think of as working in nature or in science. And we want to give you firsthand understanding of our connection with the environment, as well as skill building experiences, actually doing things, and that can actually result in sustainable solutions. So we hope that you can leave here today feeling a little bit more empowered to go make a difference. So there's lots of different ways you can get involved. You're clearly at an event right now. This is a great way to do it. If you have an expertise and would like to lead an event, that's always something that you can tell me about. We're looking for experts all over the place in every field to help connect folks to nature and learn about these ways to help solve these challenges. There are training programs such as land management and naturalist training program that you can do if you're affiliated with SSU or even a community member. Internships, student jobs. We have lots of data you can access. There's projects that we're doing. You can partner with us on. Right now, we're working on something called Rising Waters, looking at the nexus of water quality and homelessness and how we can help both of those things at the same time. And there's a project called the Virtual Field that is an international collaboration of over 50 field stations and marine laboratories that have come together during the pandemic to help undergraduate students experience field research, even when they can't go outside. So all sorts of things that you can come and get involved with us. So please let me know if you'd like to do any of that. And you can email me and I'll put my email in the chat. It's also how you got your registration confirmation. You can reply to that. So today, specifically, we're going to focus on how to communicate your experiences with nature in the written word. And this is really key to allowing others to understand and feel emotionally connected to nature, even if we already feel that way, or to enhance your connection to nature. So it really helps us solve those challenges by connecting in that way and sharing it with others. So the format today is local nature. And what that means is it's combining the live presentation with an exploration of the natural areas that are right around your home. We're going to spend about 10 to 15 minutes hearing from Lakin, then about 20 minutes connecting to our local natural areas. So maybe 5 minutes to find a natural object to guide your writing or connect with an object you've already collected or taken a photo of. Then 15 minutes for actual writing, which you can do in nature or inside. And then come back, share ideas, discuss, ask questions, and then we'd be done at noon. So just an hour. And we're also happy to stay a little later for a few more questions if anybody has. During the presentation, Lakin might ask for your feedback, so you can answer her using the chat or you can just speak up. There's not too many of us, but I'm asking that you kind of self-moderate your muting and audio and video. So we want to see your faces. We're happy. This is more of a discussion. I have my coffee here, right? This is a little more relaxed. You're not just sitting at a lecture today. So please feel free and communicate and be comfortable. But if you do want to turn your video off, that's just fine. And if you're not actually speaking, it's probably better if you can mute yourself because background noise can get distracting. Now, she's also generously offered to give us feedback after the event. So if you have a piece of writing that you start on today and then you go work on your own and get to a place where you would like some feedback, feel free and email it to me or Lakin, and she's offered to critique it and go through it a little bit, which is a really great service. So that's wonderful that we have that opportunity. So please feel free and do that. And then connected to that, we are creating what we're calling an anthology of works that are created from our public events. Excuse me. So if you would like to share your writing and have it put into a book, a small sort of publication that students will create, we would love to have your work included. And if you're shy, it can even be anonymous, but I really encourage you to include that today as well. With all of that said, I'm going to let Lakin Khan take this away, and I'm so thankful that you're here, Lakin. Thank you for doing this, and I'm excited to be one of your students.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that great introduction, Carrie, and for outlining how we're going to operate today. And I trust everybody can hear me. My sound is pretty good. So good. It's great to see new faces. Great to see some returning familiar faces. And we'll probably take a writing excursion through nature in a way to understand. Well, let's go back to a question that I pose often, which is, what is nature? What do you think of as nature? And what I'm going to have you do is right now is write down one sentence of what you think nature is. And we're going to start with that particular idea. Well, I can see that this is a very, very, a group that's really interested in writing, dedicated to writing, enjoys writing. I'll let you wrap up your thoughts here. Does anybody want to share? We'll have a little bit of a sharing thing. Anybody want to share maybe not everything that they wrote, but the basis or a synopsis of what they wrote about what is nature? And if you do, just raise your hand and unmute yourself and then share. Anybody have a few choice words? Jessica.
I'll be brave. It's what I actually miss a lot right now, which is rowing on the Petaluma River, but it's a tap of the blade of the water connecting to the river of life, openness, just an experience of nature.
Yeah, and I like the way you had this actual physical action of the blade of the water touching, connecting you to the essence or the substance of nature. Nicely put. Mike, did you have something you were ready to share? Will you share? You have to unmute yourself. There.
Yeah, I guess the first thing I think of is a tree, and then the trees and the plants and the life that they support.
Yeah. What would this world be without trees? Would we have a world without trees? Janet, you looked like you you were ready to share. Yeah.
Oh, I wrote something a little broader and maybe not so specific, but I said nature is the life force of all things, animate and inanimate, and the connection among them. Nature is miraculous.
It is miraculous, isn't it? I mean, haven't we all wondered how the heck this is all happening? So, I mean, I think everybody's just sort of hit on kind of the mysteries and the challenges of writing about nature, and why people continually write about nature or draw nature or paint nature, because it is our world. It is how we exist. So what I like to do is when I'm talking about writing about nature is I ask us to think about our brains. And our brains get information through our senses. If we don't have senses, our brains can't process information. As a matter of fact, our brains go a little nuts if we don't have sensory input. So sometimes it's a relief. There are people who go into sensory deprivation tanks just to give their brains a rest, because the brain is so busy processing information that sometimes you do need to give it a break. But what we can do as writers or artists is when we're writing about anything, engaging the senses of the reader, we brings the reader into your piece. There, you actually trigger their brain to start processing the information. If it's very abstract, then the brain sort of has to really work hard at trying to figure out what you're talking about. But when you're using the senses, the brain gets it right away. Like when we heard Jessica's piece, when she talked about the oar going into the water, everybody probably had a sensory impression of that, like the sight of the oar going in the water, or the feel of the oar going in the water, or the sound of the water dripping off the oar when you pull it up. I mean, I think we all engage to some degree, even if we've never rowed, right? We probably have at least seen this image of the oar in the water, and we might even be able to physically feel the pull, right? So what I like to do is actively engage the senses in our writing. And so I asked that we, when we're writing, to use all 5 senses, and then we can add emotion into it as well, because I think emotion is like a 6th sense to a certain degree. But the 5 senses are, and usually I ask a classroom to give it to me, but this is an awkward thing in a Zoom situation. So sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, right? Those are the 5 senses. That's the way our brain gets information about what's happening in the world. So what I'm going to have you do is in a few minutes, I'm going to have you either walk outside or go to your window or find some object in your room that's a piece of nature, that is a part of nature. And then I'm going to ask you to describe it using all 5 senses. So what it looks like, the colors, the textures that you can see, what it sounds like. Maybe it has this, maybe it's a seed pod and you can shake and you get a rattle. Maybe the only sound that you might have would be as it interacts with the surface, right? You know, maybe it's a flower and the only sound you might imagine is the whoosh of it in the wind. So try to find some sound that's related to it. The smell, you know, everything, smell is very difficult to describe. We don't have a lot of words for smell. So it's a challenge. And there you might end up using metaphors. You know, it smells like something, or you might be using words like cinnamon or sage or some of the other kind of more related to food, because that's how we experience the world often in smell. Touch, what it feels like, you know, the textures of it. Is it pointy? Is it smooth? Is it smooth like metal? Is it, etc. Many different words that we can use for touch. Taste, I don't really encourage you to taste it because we have absolutely no idea how safe any of these things really are, but you can imagine what it tastes like. So it could be something that's perfectly safe to touch, to taste, like a rose petal. We actually adopted some pandemic kittens, and one of them loves roses, and we can bring a rose in and he eats all the petals off the rose. Go figure. He's an interesting kitten. So some things you probably could, if you know they're food safe, you're certainly allowed to taste them. But if you can't, then imagine what it would taste like, or imagine what is it food for, or imagine what it eats. Like if I'm going to be talking about birds, you know, I'm going to be talking about, is it a seed eater? Is it a grub eater? Is it, you know, does it drink sap? Is it how does it get water? So fully engaging the sense of taste in some way. Is this making sense to everybody? Yes. So that's kind of the 5 points, 5 senses that I'm going to have you engage in. So let's see, it's 11:20 now. So we're going to take about at least 20 minutes to write, maybe a little bit more. What I'm going to have you do is find an object, describe it in all those 5 senses. I also want you to take note or consideration of the day. What kind of day is it? For me, outside, it's gray and gloomy and damp and invigorating, right? Because it's fresh rain, the first rain of the season. So you're going to get, you know, the petrichor, you know, the smell, that first smell of rain on stone actually has its own word, petrichor, to describe it because it's so unique. And what it literally is doing is that the rain is actually activating the smells out of this rock of dust and dirt and mud and mold. So then I'm going to make it all into one encompassing thing. Go ahead and make notes about all the different senses. Go ahead and engage in memory. Engage in what does it remind you of? What I like to do is take notes of all those senses first, and then follow memory, follow association, follow what it makes you think of, right? And allow any kind of metaphor to arise out of it. So you can see I'm doing it, structuring it in two sections. Now, if you want, we can take a little break. We could have like a 10-minute thing where we come back, you know, you can write all the senses and then come back and write secondly. But I like to put it all into one big thing, I think, in a Zoom session. I think it's a little easier for people. So because in a classroom, we have people coming in and out, but here people are kind of on their own turf. It's a little bit different. Is this making sense? Or am I nattering a little bit too much? My squirrels are just tearing my bird feeder apart. They just knocked it over. Those bad squirrels. Okay. So this is the assignment. Find an object. Go outside and find it. Or if you have one on your desk, use that. Write about it in all 5 senses. Take notes. Write some good sentences. And then continue to write about it. You're going to also include the state of the day, right? The condition of the day. And then you're going to allow it to take you into meaning, memory, association, etc. Kind of let it expand. Once you get through the descriptions, let it just expand into something. And any questions? Oh, I know one more thing. This is also a winter walk, and I think winter kind of arrived, right, this week for most people. I mean, elsewhere in the country, winter has been here already, but I think winter kind of arrived even just yesterday. So think about what makes this day different than the other days that have been up here. And that's another point. So I've given you kind of lots of little fingers to go on. And, you know, if you were ready to write all of this, it would probably take you a couple hours. Don't worry about it. Just do what you can in the time that we have and just enjoy it. This should not make you anxious or give you any anxiety whatsoever. This is just should be enjoyable and fun, and just let it go, take you wherever it goes. But do employ the 5 senses to get into this realm, right? Okay, let's go. Anybody have questions?
Just really quickly, because we just don't know the audience, we don't know everyone's experience. If anybody here does want more structure of any kind, or is like, I'm just really starting and I don't know what to do, then you can hang on a little bit and we can talk with you a little bit more, but everyone else feel free and go off. I know the first walk that I went on with Lake, and I was like, I need some sort of structure. Like, is this a poem? Is this an essay? Like, I just needed a little bit more. But I know it looks like a lot of you already have an idea of where you're headed. So that's good.
That's a good point, Carrie. I would say that this can be a little essay. It can be essay made out of memory, like a first person narrative. It can be a poem, or you can take your notes and turn them into a poem that evoke the emotion, the memories, etc., wherever it takes you. It could be a fiction piece. You could write in the voice of a character going on a walk and discovering these objects. So that's a way of it being kind of an active discovery, I guess is what I would say. Is that making sense too? Everything is going good. All right. I think some people have already started writing. They're not waiting for me.
Well, it's 11:25 our Pacific time. I don't know where you all are. So let's come back at 11:45.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
All right. We'll go ahead and mute.
Welcome back from your writing, everybody.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm usually the timekeeper and I got lost my own self.
Easy to do.
It's funny, I find I've been writing on a great big huge drawing paper these days.
I like it. It looks like it gives you some freedom.
I have very large writing that's sloppy. And so when I have lines, it makes it very confusing. So then I can draw arrows if I want to, little squirrels if I want to.
So Lakin, if you want to help guide us through the next portion.
Okay, so we don't have enough time for everybody to share, their pieces, which which is sad because I really like to hear what people have written. But what I'd like to do is just sort of in a show of hands, how many people found that they were able to go into an emotion or a memory in the process of writing this? Some people, lots of people did. Were you surprised by the memory or the emotion? Was it something unexpected? I'm gonna change my glasses here. You can just shake your head or nod or whatever. No, not surprised. A lot of people, kind of a little bit, some people. I always find that it's like a little road, it's like a little pathway, kind of an active discovery to go from these concrete senses and into other areas that I might not even be considering about. So what I would like to do at this point is, if people have like a line or two of, I'm going to kind of collect some of the senses that people used. And we only have about 10 minutes. So if somebody, I'm going to ask for volunteers just to read or talk about how they described what their object and how they described it by sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So I'll just call for one and somebody can share. So who would like to share a description of their object by sight? Anybody has something that they got in particular? Oh, Michelle, is that how you pronounce that?
Hi,
Yes,
this is Michelle.
okay.
So I just want to preface, I'm not a writer, so
Yep.
words are a bit of a challenge. So I'm feeling a little vulnerable, but
That's fine.
so I'm a visual artist. So I picked sight because that seemed appropriate. So I chose a branch that I found on a walk
Nice.
this morning, and I picked up the fallen branch covered in lichen and moss, and I was drawn to it because the now bare tree is covered in this ochre yellow, sage green, California poppy orange lichen.
Mhm.
And in the winter, with the soft gray backdrop, the tree almost glows.
Almost floats.
Glows.
Yes.
Yeah, the colors are muted right now, but they look almost like day glow colors a bit.
That's really, that strikes me as just such a vivid way to show, because when you do walk out and those trees are covered with that, it's their glow. And actually you see it in the wintertime far more than you would see it any other time. And so you've automatically sort of placed us in winter, right? By being able to describe that and see it so clearly. Like if you were to describe a tree that way, but even this branch is thick with lichen because it's wintertime, right? Yeah, nice. I love the color, the ochre green and sage green. Those are particular colors. You could say they were green, right? But how many different kinds of greens are there? So people might imagine many different kinds of greens. You've asked us to imagine very specific greens by just saying that it's an ochre green, that it's a sage green, and they're giving the reader a specific thing to latch onto. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So who has one for sound that they would like to share? Yes, Margot.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle.
I wasn't actually the one that's. Well, I was talking about a rock and that it's green, glistening, still. In the brisk air, alive with the chirp of the hermit thrush, the click of the junco, and the distant hammering of the woodpecker.
All right. Those are great sound verbs,
But
right?
it wasn't really the rock. It was the whole environment, because it was the dry stream I was looking at, anticipating its promise of, that brought on by the rain, the promise of winter.
Yeah, the promise of winter. And so here you've been, you're able to evoke the entire environment. You're talking about a rock, but you evoke the entire environment.
Yes.
And by bringing in the birds, the sound of the birds. And I love the chirp, the click, and the hammer, right? Because those are very specific sounds. The chirp, click, hammer. I mean, and it makes our brains imagine those. So you're enlivening, you're bringing the imagination alive in your reader by using this. So who had that? Thanks, Margot. That's really nice. I love that sentence. It was nice. All the glistening too was also really nicely placed there. So who has one for smell? Oh, Jessica.
The smell of the moist earth easing below my feet, rising up to push against my sense of place.
Ooh, can you read that one more time?
The smell of the moist earth easing below my feet, rising up to push against my sense of place.
Okay. So here, the smell is kind of like a presence, like it's a force, because it rises up, it pushes against her, the narrator, right? I mean, it's an actual physical object. And most of us think of smell as being ephemeral. It's all over the place, whatever we walk through it. But here it is a force. It's an acting upon the writer. I really like that sense of it rising up, because that also describes that sense of petrichor as also a rising, right? I mean, it doesn't come down on you, it comes up to you. So that's a really nice way to describe smell. And it's, it's interesting because smell really is hard to describe. And so now here's a way to kind of describe some other aspect, other trait of smell, which is as a physical force. And then you drift a little bit into metaphor, right? Against rising against your sense of place, you said? Sense of place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to describe in anticipation of getting to the river.
Yeah.
My experience of just sort of getting out the front door and experiencing this, and just, well, sort of leading into this anticipation and starting to connect with senses as I get more deeper into nature, so to speak.
Yes. So there's a reconnection of the senses, right? As you go out to, and gosh, isn't that why we go out in nature, right? To kind of enliven our senses, to feel more alive. Yeah. Oh, if we had time, I'd collect a few more smell ones, but let's go on to touch or taste. Who has a touch or taste one? Karen. Thank you, Jessica. Karen.
So I have a couple sentences.
Okay.
I gotta find them in my mess here. Half the flowering plants are sporting dead and dying stalks that are rough to the touch. The dead flower heads look soft, but are surprising me when I discover hidden spiky needle-like spines of seeds.
Spiky needle-like
spines of seeds.
Yeah. So just quickly, look at all the alliteration that's going on in there, right? The really spiky and spines, those sounds, the sounds of those words feel spiky, they feel spine-like, they poke you. And so not only are you describing the sense, but we're feeling it kind of even in the very way the words work. But yeah, that there is also that sense of deception, right? We've all gone over to a flower and thought it was going to be soft to the touch and walked away with bleeding fingertips, right? That's really, I like that. And also the sense of flowers are often gentle. They have this aura of being gentle. And yet here we are in winter and fall, and they're no longer gentle. They're defensive, right? And so you once, Michelle did, you sort of placed us in wintertime with these kinds of flowers, that they're dead and dying stalks, they're pokey little seed heads. Yes, my fingers hurt just listening to that. Nicely done. Thanks, Karen. And who has a sense of taste? Anybody have a sense of taste that they can bring? Janet or Karen?
If no one else does, I do, but I'll wait and let somebody else have a turn.
Janet, do you have one?
I don't know. It's like half a sentence. I'll see
Okay.
if I can show this to you, what I
Oh,
have here.
it's like a cool.
See that?
Yeah,
It's
the wasp.
exactly. It's a wasp nest that fell out of a light fixture by the front door.
Oh, that is so cool.
Isn't that cool?
It's really
So, I mean, the only thing I could really say about the taste of this was having to do with the color. And then it looked fungal to me. And I thought, if I were to taste this, would this be like a mushroom? And
Yeah.
that was all I could come up with for that.
I think that's totally appropriate, right? Doesn't that evoke kind of the sense of that?
Well,
That particular piece?
yeah.
It
Kinda.
looks a little, like you say, fungal or moldy. It would have a funky taste to it if you were to put it in a soup. It would be like kind of serve the function of the Parmesan rind, right? Give you that kind of extra flavor. Yeah, but I like that. And it is, you're not going to eat it, but you can imagine it, right? And so imagining something is the same as experiencing it. That's kind of the magic of this, right? Magic of writing, the magic of painting, the magic of poetry or music is if you imagine it, your brain thinks it's as real as if it's reality, because that's what the brain does. It interprets reality. So what you're offering your reader is a way to interpret your reality, right? By giving it the taste of a wasp nest. Right? Somebody else might give it a different taste, right? And then you're invited into a different brain who's thinking about a wasp nest in a different way. So I think I hope everybody has really enjoyed this. I know we're right up at noon. And I know that I always have bigger expectations of this hour, and I wanted to go on to another part, but we might have to do that at another time. But I really think certainly is a way to interact with nature and bring it to life to your page, and then awakening those senses in another reader, right? Who can then, maybe they're not able to go on that little walk with you side by side, but they're able to go on that walk with you as a reader, right? They get to experience other environments. Can you imagine what this world would be like if we didn't have writing or art? And we would be limited to our little postage stamp experience, our experience. And we get to experience so much more because we can share it through words and through poetry and so many other things, so many other ways. So I really appreciate it. I really like everything that you guys have brought to this workshop and to the page yourself. And I hope that you continue on with it, making a poem or making a little essay or anything that you want for it. So does anybody have any questions? Mike, do you have something to share?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I guess I'm not that poetic, but I sure love talking about, looking at this. I guess I got sidetracked. I was going to talk about a buckeye, but then I started thinking about taste, and I know these don't taste too good, but my local squirrel, he sure enjoyed them.
Oh, yes.
There was a lot of, so yeah, it's great. I like that idea with the senses. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much. Buckeyes are something else, aren't they?
thought it was particularly interesting. If I'm a very auditory person, and trying to get into the other ones senses was very much of a challenge. Most of us are very visual, and
Yeah.
but well, you could tell I hear things. But trying to figure out the touch and the smell and taste was
Yes, that's very
challenging.
much a challenge. It's very much a challenge.
You know, I
So-
found something similar. Every time I had one that I was like, oh, this one's not going to work, it ended up being the best, right? Like, I was like, how on earth am I going to smell this? This leaf has no smell. I'm like, it'll just smell like the dirt it pushed through. And I was like, well, actually, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say that.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody does tend to operate out of one sense primarily, just as for whatever reason. And so it's always nice to open that up, because, you know, we get kind of hidebound and routine bound into our particular mode. So just as a practice, it's just a really nice practice in the morning, just to take some object and just quickly write down, you know, all 5 senses about it. It helps you develop some of those little skills, some little muscles. Or another way to do that, if you're interested in writing, is to take a week and every day write down what something smells like. So 1 week is all about smell. So every day you write down a different smell, how to describe a different smell. The next week you do touch. Next week you do sight. Next you do sound, right? So you take 5 weeks, and each week you do a different sense. So that's always a fun project to do. Or if you want to combine it, I've also had students do a different sense a day. That's a little bit more, you know, if you have kind of a jumpy mind and you want to do a different sense every day, that's also, it gets you through the week, right? So anyway, as Carrie said, I am certainly willing to look at anything, any pieces that people want to send me. If we want to review them or look at them, I'm happy to offer comments on them. I know a lot of people take workshops like this just for the experience and to have fun and you know, for the joy of it, and other people are working on developing their writing skills. So wherever you're at is absolutely fine. I really enjoyed having you here and listening to you and watching you all write.
Well, let me just say a few things, and then if we want to, we can hang out a little longer. As I said before, this is the last event of the season. So thanks all for leading us out with a bang. This was a really great day. But I do want to tell you a little bit about what's coming up in spring. So it hasn't been announced yet, but we do have a pretty fun season shaping up, and everything from how human health and climate change interact, led by a doctor from Kaiser, to a conservation career panel in Spanish, to participatory opportunities like the sudden oak death blitz and the backyard bird count. So please do stay tuned for our announcement in January about what those events are going to be. You can always find them at our website, cei.sonoma.edu/calendar. And then if you add /past to the end of that, you can see the recordings of all of our previous virtual events, including the last writing walk that Lakin led in spring. The autumn writing walk was actually in person, so you can't see that one, but you can see this one and the previous one there too. And then also part of next spring will be 4 separate what are called live from the field events, which are part of that virtual field project I told you about earlier, for undergraduate students. So if you know any faculty members or undergraduate students, this is a way for them to incorporate things into their curriculum that might not be accessible otherwise because of the virtual nature of our education right now. And then also just really encouraging you all to send any feedback you have, reach out to me for any reason. I'll put my email in the chat, and reminding you that people can attend from anywhere. So telling your friends about upcoming events, to watch past events, and any ideas you have for the future. So thanks again for coming, everybody. I'm happy to stick around a little bit, but thanks for everyone who has to leave. And we hope to see you soon out in nature.
All right, bye guys.
Thanks, Lakin.
Yeah. Or if anybody wants to stay and chat, I'm happy to stay and chat with you all, or as you need to leave, that's also fine.
Oh, I see that you put some of the exercises in the chat. Thank you, Lakin.
I just put one, yeah, the basic outline of the exercise right there.
So just for fun, because I didn't share anything, every now and then something pops in your head and you're like, ooh, that's the phrase I want to use. And I came up with what I think would be the title before I even wrote the piece, which is weird.
Wow.
But it was because I was talking to you about how nature is kind of like a place to come back to. And I love that you told me to go out and look for things with that in mind, because I found it because of that. Like the pre-work helped me find my object.
Mhm.
And it's because the thing I found is the unwanted iris.
Oh, nice.
There is this flower that it's a plant that keeps popping up that's been here ever since I moved here, 9 years ago. And I want this native plant garden, and I want I want this certain thing. And this plant has been in the walkway, not where I want it. And
Mhm.
it's not a native plant. And at first I actually cut it down, and it comes back every single year, or it's babies, I don't know. But I decided to embrace it and write about it. And I found a new piece with my unwanted iris today.
Good. That's cool. Unwanted iris is a great name. Unwanted iris.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people want irises.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, yeah, is it a purple iris?
Well, I haven't actually seen it bloom. Leaves always come up. And
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it could be something else. I think it's an iris.
So anybody have questions, Karen or Jessica or Sylvia?
No, I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I enjoyed this.
Oh, good. I think it's fun.
I'm attempting to learn how to write songs, and
okay.
So any work that I can do on writing is,
Yeah.
And so that, it was fun to.
Yeah, well, and this part 2 of this would have been to now to think of those objects as a metaphor in any way to your life, right? I mean, that most people make that kind of leap kind of intuitively, but yeah, as an exercise, then take the object and ask it to be a metaphor of some kind. So, you have, didn't you write about you had the smell.
Flower heads.
The flower heads, yeah. So it's right there, right? The bleeding fingers, the spiking protection.
I have been doing all spring and summer and fall backyard safari.
Oh.
So I've been meeting all kinds of new insects and plants and in my small urban yard.
Yeah.
It's just been wonderful.
Yeah.
And you can be a little bolder than that, Karen. You're not learning songwriting. You're going to help us. She's actually going to be leading an event next fall about songwriting, nature songwriting. So, nice. Yeah.
Perfect.
And I'm really excited about that. How these two things
actually very similar to what you did.
Yeah.
Really, because it's just I just personally, I have to learn to hone things down. I have too much to say. And so my challenge to myself is to, work smaller. And, and it might even be to the point where I don't include all the senses, but I'm.
Yeah. Well, yes, no.
And, but I'm having a lot of fun.
Well, you could pick one of the senses as a vehicle,
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's really, I've read that, but how there's so much information out there, and then to hear it a second time, I think it sticks better.
Well, here's another exercise too, and one that sometimes I was thinking to do is we all wrote about nature in the beginning, right? And, people were writing like solid paragraphs as far as I could see. Now, at the end, write about nature in 6 words. What is nature in 6 words?
That's great.
So I think you've all heard about the 6-word novels, right?
Yes.
So this is the same idea. If you can, you're going to pull it down into 6 words. So I leave you with that homework.
I love that.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
So I really like that word you talked about at the beginning, I can't pronounce it properly, petrichor.
Petrichor, yes.
So my challenge oftentimes is like, I'll notice all these tiny little details and I'll have these experiences and I'll try to describe it, but it's just so gross and clunky. And so trying to find, like I always am thinking, gosh, I wish I was an English lit major because I would have that $1 million word that would precisely describe what I'm seeing or what I'm hearing. And so I was just wondering, because you had mentioned while you were talking about like sound verbs and so it got me thinking, is there a place where I might look to see and try to figure out maybe my broad brush description, finding that more precise thing that I'm experiencing? Is that?
Well, I mean, so you're talking about fine tuning your language. Is that what you're saying?
Fine tuning my language. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Have you ever gotten a book called Thesaurus? A Roget's Thesaurus?
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's really fun. I mean, of course, I'm an English major, so I would think this is fun. I actually like to open my thesaurus and just read it and just check out words, and I'll circle a couple words and just use them. So that's the great thing about using a thesaurus is that, you're not bound. A dictionary gives you all these definitions and it's very arcane, but the thesaurus groups words by commonality. And so you can really kind of look at a word like a word for walk. And the entry for walk goes on like this, and it gives you all kinds of walks, like sachet, lumber, gaits, trots, all the different ways you can say how somebody walks. And that is a way of kind of fine tuning your language, because now you're not just going to say somebody walks down the path. You might say they stagger down the path. They skip down the path. They dance. So each of those words has its own little connotation of movement. And that connotation of movement gives you an image and tells you even more about what's going on, right? Walking. So does that help you?
Yeah, that's a great idea, because I mean, I've used a thesaurus a little bit, but usually you're writing a paper and you're going, God, I've used this word a lot, so let me find another word. But I've never looked at it from the way you're describing it, in terms of seeing it as a collection or group. And
yeah, it's just fun to explore.
It's more like exploring. I like that.
And the book, get the book. Don't use the online thesaurus. It's just not nearly as much fun as the book. So Karen.
I disagree. I love the online stuff because there's so many different ones. So, I mean, here's a couple of words that I have new words for.
Okay.
I love the online. I have a thesaurus, but I find that online I get much more options, just as my own personal opinion.
Well, some people that could be, you can disagree my advice or go with Karen's. It doesn't really matter how you get to the thesaurus, but go ahead and use it and really explore. I mean, some people really enjoy the online experience more than the book experience. I enjoy the book experience more than the online, but I am willing to, you like both. But there is one, there was an application or something, I'll have to find it, where you would put in a word and it would give you networks of words around it.
Oh, nice.
You remember? I don't know if anybody saw that, but it's not quite like a thesaurus, but it was a networking thing of how words were connected. So, okay. And Karen, anything else?
No, I was just saying that I use that all the time because I'm not an English major, and I love it.
Yeah. Thesaurus is really a great way to explore the way words work. Because it's not alphabetical, it's almost like a random choice of words, right? There's no connection between the words except for their spelling. But the thesaurus allows you to explore the connections. And Karen, I'm fine with having people use different resources. I'm just sort of a bibliophile.
I was thinking one of the same things as Sylvia, though. I was looking for a word, and I spent maybe a third of my time looking for a particular word. And I was like, why am I doing this? And it was trying to describe the way it was in touch on a leaf, and it's lines that are all in the same direction, parallel lines on a leaf, and how that feels. And in a way, it's smooth, but that's kind of boring. And in a way, it's silky. In a way, it's soft. In a way, but it's bumpy at the same time. There's like this very distinct, pleasurable of a line that is very consistent. And that touch, I couldn't figure out. Oh, I still can't figure out a word for that.
Well, it could be there is no word for that. You might have to invent your own word, or you might have to use a combination of words, you know, or, you know, go into a thesaurus and look under touch or under bumps or, you know, pleasure or something, and see if you can find something that relates. But you're talking about, it's kind of like the sound, like when you're walking along a fence, and right, and you have like a stick or a little piece of plastic or a card, and you go there's a staccato sense to it, but there's also pleasure in that sound.
And it also is remarkably consistent, even though it's bumpy.
Consistent, and it's kind of smooth. It has a
like a purr.
Like maybe? A purr, yeah. You could even use that. Did it feel like you were purring along that as you touched it?
Yeah, using one sensory term for another sense.
Yeah. They're extremely, extremely useful. So Jessica, you had a question too. You were raising your hand.
Yeah, it's quite possibly a conversation that should happen elsewhere, but I've been putting on Petaluma Riverside chats, and part of that is it started around just COVID and wanting to connect with folks around the Petaluma River and folks that row on the Petaluma River, and and stewardship on the Petaluma River and that sort of thing. But I was wondering if potentially Carrie and Lakin, if you'd like to do potentially a collaboration with and doing something related to folks' writing about their connection to the Petaluma River. But
that would be fun.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm always open to collaborations, and I loved that one that you had with the U.S. Geological Survey folks, and it's really fun. Those events, if anyone is interested, they're not just for rowers. I know that's but like it really was fascinating.
Yeah, no, Arthur Dawson came and did a really delightful. I'll send you links to the recordings, but he did a delightful one on. He sort of had us wandering, if you may, from the river all the way up to Sonoma Mountain and looking at the sources of water coming down and that sort of thing. But it was integrated some poetry that he had, and it was just really lovely. Yeah, sort of connecting through senses, if you may, to that area, senses and science.
Yes, love that.
Yeah.
Yes, please, let's keep talking about that. And I know that some of the events we want to do more are regarding water in general, and maybe having some panels where it's like 3 different people. And so it could be fun to have somebody from your group be one of those 3 perspectives.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah,
no, that would be fun.
Anyway, but as always, Lakin, though, these workshops are they're just beautiful. I mean, they just have this, you have this amazing way of it's like a sunflower maybe opening up to there's this thing that happens, I think, rather quickly, short amount of time that you have to do it. I just think
thank you. I appreciate that. Wonderful. Yeah, no, I enjoy meeting you all and going on this experience with you. It's fun. I like it because I think people really enjoy writing when they come to a workshop like this, and it means to them. So so thank you. But yeah, I would love to participate in something that you put together for. And it just FYI, it's been interesting. It's actually opened up so that we have people that are connecting and logging in from Canada and from the East Coast, Midwest, and here and Australia. We've got folks in Australia, but everybody has this passionate connection to water because most of them, everybody's connected to it because it's about water, but it's anyway. So it's a neat theme, if you may. It sounds really neat. Is it like a Zoom chat that you're doing, or is it a
It is Zoom. Yeah, I've been doing it on Zoom. Yeah.
I have to say Pacific time zone now because I can't assume everyone's in the same place.
I
had
know,
someone the other
Carrie.
day, they're like, what zone are you in? I'm going to be calling in from Chile. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I know. It actually, you reminded me of that, and I thought, oh, and I started to make a list of all the people that I can push your information out to, because
Oh, thank you.
anyway, you know, anyway, I'm a big fan.
Oh, great.
Really, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, folks.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.